I'm going to show you how to translate your captions on a YouTube video. So I'm not sure this is the easiest way to do this, but it is the easiest way that I have found so far. So when I look at my video, I can click on my subtitles. And as long as you've uploaded this video several hours ago or possibly a day ago, there should be some automatically generated captions. Hopefully your YouTube channel is set to the language that is spoken in your video. So that's what these captions will be. So if I want to look at these captions, I can click Edit in Classic Studio, and it takes me to this convenient caption editing window, and I can click play.
Hi parents, I'm going to show you how to log in.
And I can listen to my narration, and I can see my captions. And you can tell these captions aren't bad, but they're not perfect. There's no punctuation. There's no capitalization to speak of. Sometimes the certain proper nouns might be capitalized, but I want to go back and clean these captions up first, just so they're nice, clean English captions. So in order to do that, I can click the edit button up here, and it'll take me into an editable window, and I can push
Hi
play.
parents, I'm going to show you how to.
And I can make changes here. Excuse me. If I want. And I can continue typing, and I can basically overtype whatever I need to in this window. You can add additional little snippets, additional timings, and you can change the timings and edit those if you want. But that's more work. And to be honest, I just prefer to stick with the timings that are set up automatically, but I guess that's a matter of preference. You can also choose to pause the video while typing, and then you can either push play again to continue and kind of move on. It'll scroll automatically for you, which is kind of nice. And if you're like me, you might get tired of reaching back and forth between the mouse and the keyboard, so you might want to learn these keyboard shortcuts. This is a window that's I think you could get pretty good at it if you use it regularly. So this could be something that we train maybe a tech or somebody who does translations for us, and maybe train that person to use this window. Because if they're fluent in the language, it might be pretty easy for them to just overtype by hand. So I'm going to hit delete draft. I don't want to actually change any of the captions that are already here. But I want to show you now how after I made those changes and modifications, these are the captions that are already cleaned up. These are the ones that I edited and capitalized and made them look really nice. So this is what I want to use for my translation. So in order to translate, first I want to download these captions as text files and then use Google Translate to translate those text files. So what I'm going to do is click Actions, and I'm going to click Download. And I've got some format choices. In my experience, the SBV format is pretty easy to work with. That's basically just a text file that I can manipulate, edit. I think I could probably use the Notepad on Windows. However, I'm going to use Atom because I just happen to have a text editor, and it's a little geekier, and I'm geeky, so that's how I want to do it. So I'm going to download it as an SBV file. You see it's called Captions (3). All right, so now I'm going to go over to Atom, and I'm going to open that file that I just downloaded. There it is, Captions 3. And this is what the SBV file looks like. It's basically each line of caption with a timestamp in seconds. And it's hours, minutes, seconds, period, fractional seconds. And there's a before, like a beginning timestamp and an end timestamp, and they're separated with a comma. No spaces. So that's kind of the syntax of that. And then each block of captions is separated with a blank line to indicate that that is like the next, like after this blank line, the algorithm moves to the next little piece of text for the caption, and so on throughout the whole video. YouTube recommends that you try to stick to no more than 2 lines of text per timestamp. And that's just for convenience on the poor person's eyes as they're trying to keep up with this text while they're reading along with the video. So that's kind of a prudent practice. So anyway, I'm going to download this. Actually, no, I'm going to copy and paste it into a spreadsheet. So I'm going to hit Control A to select all, Control C for copy. And now I'm going to go over to a little spreadsheet that I've prepared. And I'm just going to go, I'll just start in A1. I'll type English, subtitles. And on A2, I'm going to hit Control V, and it's going to conveniently paste all of those text blocks into separate cells here in the spreadsheet. Okay, so now I'm going to create another column, let's say over here in column B, and I'm going to say Spanish translated subtitles. And, when you're translating from English to Spanish, you might want to scroll through here. If you know Spanish relatively well, you might see some idiomatic expressions in English that are not going to translate very well. You can always change those first, just so you can kind of feed Google Translate some text that's going to be more accurate, easier for Google Translate to handle and translate accurately. So just watch out here for idioms. You might want to simplify the language a little bit before you feed it through the translation. But anyway, so here's one thing I can do. I can go equals Google Translate. Oops. And that's a nifty little formula that you can use. And you need 3 arguments for Google Translate. You can have first a cell reference, and then comma. And then you have to give a 2-letter abbreviation for the language that this text is in. This is English, so the 2-letter code for English is EN. I have to enclose that in quotes, and then a comma, and then I need the 2-letter abbreviation for the destination language, which is Spanish, and the 2-letter code for Spanish happens to be ES for Español. And then I have to close my parentheses and hit enter, and voila, Google's Translate has magically translated my text. Okay, so that seems easy enough. You might be tempted to grab your blue pointer and drag it down, and it will translate the cells that have actual English text. However, we've got a couple of problems here. Problem number 1, these time references. For some inexplicable reason, Google Translate likes to add little spaces in between these colons. And I will tell you from experience, if you upload these back into YouTube, YouTube will not like those. It will not recognize these as properly formatted timestamps. In fact, it will rather rudely spit out your upload back to you and say this is not even a correctly formatted file. So that's bad. Another problem is whenever you have a blank, remember we had these blank lines. That's very important. That's also essential to make this process work. And this pesky little formula is returning an error statement, because if there's nothing to translate and there's no text to translate, then it's going to give me this little error notification. So to take care of that, I'm going to hit undo here. I did a little trial and error, and I came up with this if-then statement, which has 3 different statements. So what it's doing is, first, it's looking for a colon. If it sees a colon, then it knows it's a timestamp. And then it's going to, if that's the case, then it's just going to faithfully copy whatever's in that cell, rather than trying to change the text or trying to translate the text. So that's the first statement. If I have a regex match that contains a colon, then it's just going to preserve that. The next step is the next if conditional is if A2 is blank. So if it's a completely null cell, then it's just going to replace with a null cell. So that'll take care of my little value thing. And then the final condition, if none of those 2 conditions are met, then we go ahead and translate the text. So if I put that here, and now I see what's going on here. Let's see if I did that right. Oops, maybe I didn't. That was not exactly what I wanted. I wanted to copy that and put it here. There we go. And I'll hit enter. And I'm going to delete this. And now that formula, I think, is a good one. So I'm going to drag this down and populate the entire column with this all the way down my spreadsheet. Da-da-da. And I'm imagining I could probably set up a template that would do this automatically, to where you would just have to paste the captions, whatever you want to do with that. And there we go. So it took a few seconds, but this doesn't look half bad. Let's just pretend that these captions don't need to be cleaned up in any way. They look pretty good to me. They even have properly formatted accent characters, which is always helpful. Okay, so I can't quite copy and paste yet though, because if I actually copy and paste these, I'm probably going to copy these formulas, and that's not going to work. So I'm going to create another column right here, real simple, and I'll just use this column for pasting. Okay, and I'm going to basically highlight all of these cells all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to hit Control C for copy. And then over here in H2, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select Paste Special and Paste Values Only. And that way, the text that appears in these cells now, instead of being the formula, we actually have the text itself. And that's what we can now bring over to our text editor. So I'm going to highlight this column, select the entire column. So I'll go copy. And now I'm ready to go back over to my text editor, and I can start a brand new text file, and I can hit Control V for paste. And I'm going to scroll all the way up, and it's very annoying. It's going to give me a full 1,000 rows. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, when I scroll all the way up here, okay, I want to get rid of that. That little note right there needs to be gone, and I'm going to hit the delete key to just delete that entire line. And now I'm going to hit Save As, because I need to do one thing. I need to give it a name, Spanish Captions, and I need to make sure in the name I include that 3-letter extension, SBV. Trust me, YouTube is not going to accept this file unless the .sbv is at the end. So I'm going to click Save. There we go. Okay, so now this file is ready for uploading to YouTube. So when I go back to YouTube, I'm going to go here to, let's see, return to YouTube Studio, and I need to add the captions in this language. So I'm going to go to my videos, and I'm going to click on this video, and I'm going to click on my subtitles, and I'm going to add a language. And I have to select it from the menu this time, so I have to find Spanish. And in this case, that gives you some choices, what kind of Spanish you're going to use. Looks like I already used Spanish United States for this video. That's probably the one I would use. However, I already used it. So for the purposes of illustration, I'll just pick Spanish Mexico, which is probably not perfect. Not a perfect match to the kind of Spanish that's spoken in the United States by Spanish speakers, but it's close enough. I'm going to click the Upload a File button. And now it'll ask me to upload a file. So I'm going to click Choose File. And there's my new file, the SpanishCaptions.sbv file. I'm going to click Open. And as long as I don't get an error message here in red, that means my file is properly formatted. If you see a red error message here, it means you got to go back because you did something wrong. But I didn't. I did it right. So I'm going to click Upload, and look at that. All the timestamps are here, and all the text is here. And again, I can still edit it by hand if I want to. So for example, oops, Google Classroom did a little goof here. They translated it with the actual word for classroom, so we're going to change that to Google Classroom. I don't know about you, but even when I'm speaking Spanish, I like to use proper nouns in English as the English word, just to avoid confusion. So hopefully the Spanish speakers that I'm talking to will understand that Google Classroom is a proper noun, and they'll understand what it means, even though it is English. But everything else looks pretty good. I'll probably just scroll down through here and try to find all the other instances of Aula. And to be honest, I probably should have made that change back here when I was at the spreadsheet. Yeah, there it is right there. I could have just changed it here. And that would have probably, actually right here would have been the best place to do that before I had copied and pasted this text into my text editor. Anyway, when it's all done and it's done to your satisfaction, you click Save Changes, and then the text And this will then be added pretty quickly. It'll be added as a captioning option. And then when your audience goes to watch the video, here's what they'll see.
Hi, parents.
And when they click the closed caption button, the default will be whatever language the video was originally rendered in. But if they click on the little settings gear and click on subtitles, then they'll have these options. So they could then watch, I can click Spanish Mexico, and now I can watch the video with the captions.
Show you how to log into Google Classroom.
Uploaded. So yeah, as you can see, it's kind of a roundabout process, but if this was a video that a lot of parents or a lot of community members needed to watch, and you decide that it's worth the time and effort, then this is one method that will work. So I hope this information was useful. Thanks a lot.